My dear friends, have you ever walked into a store just to look around, but walked out with bags full of things you don't even know why you bought? Or maybe after a long day you told yourself, I deserve this clicked order, now and then sighed a few days later when checking your bank account. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. I've coached hundreds of people from employees to successful business owners, and nearly everyone has at least once shopped with emotions. There's one story I'll never forget. A friend of mine, Sarah, 38, worked in marketing. She earned well, but somehow always felt short. One day she said to me, Ben, I don't understand. I work so hard, but I have nothing left. Every month, the moment my paycheck hits, it's gone. I asked her to list her monthly expenses. She laughed, pulling out a long list: morning coffee lunches, out a new dress for meetings, and a few stress relief weekend trips. These things make me happy, Ben, she said. They make me feel alive. I paused, then said softly, Sarah, the problem isn't that you spend money to live. It's that you let emotions decide how you live. That line made her stop and think. And maybe you should too. Because in today's world filled with ads, social media, and constant comparison, emotional spending feels almost natural. But that natural behavior silently steals your financial freedom, one purchase at a time. Imagine this. You just got your paycheck, feeling great, and buy a new pair of shoes. It feels amazing, right? Your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that makes us feel rewarded and happy. But a few days later, when the bills arrive, electricity, water, credit card, that happiness fades, replaced by stress. And then you buy something else just to feel happy again. The loop continues: buy, joy, stress, buy, joy, stress. That's no longer spending. That's emotional conditioning, a subtle trap that keeps many people working their entire lives without ever feeling truly free. I've seen this many times. A couple from Chicago, Thomas and Maria, both had stable jobs and earned over $100,000 a year. Yet they always felt short. When sad, they ate out. When stressed, they shopped online. One day, Thomas said, Ben, I don't know what we're doing wrong. We're not wasteful. We just never have enough. I smiled and said, you're not wrong. You just placed your emotions in the wrong place. You see, emotions aren't bad. They make us human, able to love, to enjoy, to comfort ourselves. But when emotions control your wallet, the result is often stress, debt, and regret. As a financial expert, I've realized something powerful. Financial freedom doesn't start with money. It starts with emotion. With that moment when you pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, am I buying this because I need it or because I'm trying to fill an emotion? That simple question can change your life. I've seen people transform completely just by asking before they spend. Take Linda, one of my clients, a 52-year-old teacher. She once had over $20,000 in credit card debt, all from fun shopping. But when she started writing down every expense in a small notebook, she told me, Ben, I realized I wasn't buying things, I was buying the feeling of being loved. That insight was profound, because when you understand the emotion behind your financial choices, you've already taken a big step toward freedom. And you know what smart spending doesn't mean: cutting joy or living miserably. It means knowing why you spend. You spend with purpose, not impulse. You control money instead of letting money and emotions control you. I often tell my students, let every dollar you spend tell a beautiful story of value, of real joy, and of freedom. My dear friends, I know it's easier said than done, because emotions can't just be switched off. But if you start today by noticing, understanding, and writing down how you feel each time you spend, you'll begin to see something beautiful happen. You'll spend less, live slower, and feel more peace. Smart spending doesn't just give you more money. It gives you more freedom to choose to live by your values and to no longer be led by emotion. So if you're watching this video and asking yourself, how do I start spending smarter so money stops being a burden and becomes a tool for freedom? Stay with me through this video. I'll share with you principles, tools, and real-life stories to show that anyone, no matter their income, can build a solid financial foundation and a free life. Because freedom isn't about having more money. It's about knowing exactly where your money goes and why. My dear friends, before we learn how to spend wisely, we must first understand why we spend the way we do. You see, not every financial decision begins with numbers. Most begin with emotions. Think back to the last time you bought something you didn't really need. Maybe it was a shirt, a fancy meal, or the latest gadget. What made you click buy now joy? Excitement, or maybe a need to fill a quiet emptiness inside? I once told a group of college students at a financial workshop, people don't spend money because of logic, they spend because of emotion. Logic just comes later to justify it. The room laughed, but then everyone nodded. Because we've all been there buying something just to feel a little better. A friend of mine, Mark, once told me that whenever he felt lonely, he would buy Starbucks coffee every morning, even though he had great coffee at home. I asked why not brew it yourself. He smiled and said, because when I buy it outside, I feel like I belong to the world. That line stayed with me. Because the truth is, we don't just spend money to buy things. We spend to buy feelings. The feeling of safety, the feeling of being seen, the feeling of being worthy, or at least not falling behind. Neuroscience shows that when you shop, especially for something you love, your brain releases dopamine, the happiness hormone. It gives you that spark of joy, a burst of pleasure, a momentary escape from life's stress. That's why they call shopping retail therapy. But what happens next when dopamine fades, the excitement disappears, and reality returns with bills waiting for you? That's when you feel empty, guilty, or disappointed in yourself. And to escape that feeling, you buy again. That's the emotional spending cycle. Once you fall into it, it's hard to get out because it's not just about money, it's about the deep human desire to feel happy. I once coached a woman named Julia, 45 years old, a single mother working in education. She was always exhausted but never admitted it. Instead, she shopped as a way to reward herself after long, hard days. She said, I work hard. I deserve it. And she was right, she did deserve something. But what she really needed wasn't a new dress, it was rest, connection, or stillness. We often use money to soothe our emotions, but money can't heal emotions. It only numbs them. And when the numbness fades, the emptiness grows. Imagine this. Someone stressed after work opens a shopping app and sees a watch on sale 30% off. They don't really need it, but they feel that rush like they've earned it. They buy it. The joy lasts 15 minutes. A few days later, they look at their bank account and think, how many times have I done this? You see, the problem isn't the watch. The problem is using money to escape emotion. It reminds me of something Warren Buffett once said, if you can't control your emotions, you'll never control your money. Emotional spending is why so many people earning six figures still live paycheck to paycheck. They're not short on money. They're short on awareness. Awareness that each time they spend, they're reacting to a feeling, not a need. And when you start seeing that, you start taking back control. Let me share something personal. Years ago, early in my career, I bought a luxury car. I told everyone I bought it for convenience, but deep down I bought it to prove that I was successful. A month later, when the first maintenance bill arrived, it hit me. I hadn't bought the car because I needed it. I bought it because it made me feel enough. It was a shock, but also one of the most valuable lessons of my life. When money becomes a tool to fix emotions, you'll always feel like you don't have enough. So how do we break free? First, recognize your emotions before you spend. Next time you want to buy something, pause for 10 seconds and ask, what's the real reason I want this? If your answer has to do with feelings, boredom, loneliness, stress, that's your cue to pause, not purchase. One technique I teach my students is called the 7-day rule. Whenever you want to buy something beyond basic needs, put it on a wait list for 7 days. If after a week you still truly need it, buy it. If not, you've just saved money and gained peace. My dear friends, emotions are part of being human. We don't need to fight them. We just need to understand them. Because once you understand your emotions, they stop controlling your financial choices. You start spending based on values, not impulses. Remember, money can't fix emotions, but understanding emotions can save your wallet. And if today you're struggling with your spending, don't blame yourself. You're just using money to heal a feeling that hasn't been heard yet. Start by writing this down. When do I usually spend when I'm sad, lonely, or comparing myself to others? When you dare to face that truth, you're stepping out of the emotional spending cycle. And from that moment, you're not just learning to manage money, you're learning to manage yourself. Let me leave you with this: emotional spending isn't a sin, it's a reminder that your feelings need care. In the next part, we'll explore a powerful tool, the 50-30-20 budgeting formula, so you'll know exactly where your money should go and how to build a financial life rooted in awareness, not emotion. My dear friends, Now that we understand how emotions affect spending, the next question is, how do we keep emotions in check and make money work for us instead of against us? The answer lies in one simple principle with the power to transform your financial life. The 50-30-20 rule. I remember the first time I heard about this formula. I was still a young man, only a few years into my career, earning just enough to get by. Back then, I always felt like I was chasing money, working hard, yet never feeling secure. A financial mentor once told me, Ben, the problem isn't how much you earn, it's what you do with the very first dollar you make. That line stayed with me for years. Then he shared a simple formula that changed my life, the 50-30-20 rule. And later I watched it change hundreds of others too. What is the 50-30-20 rule? It's simple. 50% for needs. Food, housing, transportation, insurance, utilities, everything you need to live. 30% for wants, travel, dining out, shopping, entertainment, the things that bring joy. 20% for savings and investments, your emergency fund savings account or long-term investments, the things that build your future. It might sound theoretical, but when you apply it, it becomes a powerful compass. It helps you know where every dollar goes and, more importantly, why it goes there. I once worked with a man named Robert, 55, a construction engineer. He had a stable income, yet always felt short of money. When I looked at his expenses, I found that over 70% of his income went toward wants, restaurants, gadgets, clothes, and vacations. I asked him, Robert, which of these actually make you truly happy? He paused and said, honestly, none of them. They just help me forget I'm tired. We started applying the 50-30-20 formula. The first month he said it was hard. The second month he felt lighter. By the sixth month he told me, Ben, I don't just have more savings, I feel peaceful. For the first time, I know exactly where my money's going. And you know what's amazing? This rule is flexible. You can adapt it to your stage of life. If you're in debt, you can adjust to 60-20-20, 60% for needs, 20% for wants, and 20% for debt repayment. If you want to reach financial freedom faster, try 40-20-40, 40% for expenses, 20% for joy, and 40% for savings and investments. What matters isn't the exact percentage, it's that you make the choice, not your emotions. People often ask me, but Ben, what if my income is low? How can I save 20%? And I always say that's okay. It's not about the amount, it's about the habit. If you can only save $5 a week, start there. The magic of money lies in consistency, not quantity. It's like planting a seed. If you water it regularly, it will grow. But if you wait until you have many seeds, you'll never plant anything at all. A friend of mine, David, once drove for a rideshare company. He didn't earn much, but he was disciplined. Every paycheck, he automatically saved 10% no matter what. He told me, Ben, I don't do it because I have extra money. I do it to teach myself that I deserve a future. 10 years later, David bought his first home. Not because he got lucky, but because he learned to give every dollar a purpose. Now imagine this. If every month you automatically set aside 20% for savings and investments, in 1 year you'd have a safety cushion. In 5 years you'd have freedom. In 10 years you'd have peace. That's not magic, it's the math of discipline. But here's something important. The 50-30-20 rule only works if you're honest with yourself. Look at your expenses. Are you labeling wants as needs? That daily Starbucks coffee, is it really a need? Those fancy dinners, are they truly essential? It's not that you can't enjoy them, but you must know the difference between temporary pleasure and lasting peace. I often recommend a simple method called the 3 life accounts. 1, living account, 50% for necessities. 2, fun account, 30% for joy and experiences. 3, freedom account, 20% for savings, investments, or debt repayment. Just separating them creates magic. You can still enjoy life, but without overspending. Because when your fun account runs out, you know you've reached your limit without guilt or stress. My dear friends, smart spending isn't about restriction, it's about awareness. It's about knowing what truly brings value and what's just a passing emotion. It's realizing that every dollar you spend is a seed for your future. If you spend based on emotion, you're planting short-lived flowers. They bloom fast but fade quickly. If you spend with discipline, you're planting trees slow to grow but strong and lasting. Remember, no one becomes financially free overnight. Freedom comes from small choices repeated every day. From asking yourself, why am I spending today? And when you apply this rule, the 50-30-20 rule, you'll start to see change. not just in your wallet, but in your emotions. You'll stop fearing your bank balance because you'll know you're the one in control. Let me close with a quote I love. Money doesn't create freedom. Discipline in how you use it does. You don't need to be rich to manage money. You just need to start managing it to become rich in both wealth and peace. In the next part, we'll dive into a powerful secret of truly free people. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems financial automation. That's how they make money work automatically, so emotions step aside and freedom becomes a habit. My dear friends, if I told you that financial freedom doesn't come from how much you earn, but from how you automate your money, would you believe me? It sounds strange, but it's true. Because people can be intelligent and disciplined until emotions take over. Emotions make us say, I'll start saving next month and then forget. Emotions make us plan to invest, but then we see something on sale for 50% off. I've seen so many people fail at managing money not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't know how to remove emotion from the process. And the most effective way to do that is through financial automation. Let me tell you a story about a man named Michael, 42, a software engineer in California. He earned over $150,000 a year, a number many people dream of. Yet at the end of each month, he only had a few $100s left. He once told me, Ben, I know I should save, but every time I try to transfer money, I think, maybe later. I have so many expenses. We started with one simple change, automatically transferring 10% of his income to savings the moment his paycheck arrived. Michael didn't have to lift a finger. It all happened quietly in the background. 3 months later, he said, Ben, I don't know how, but I'm living the same, and my savings keep growing. I smiled and said, that's because you've removed the most dangerous thing in personal finance, your emotions. My dear friends, think of it this way every time you have to decide whether to save. You expose yourself to risk, because every decision comes with emotion, tiredness, temptation, or procrastination. But when you turn saving into a system, you win automatically. That's why financially free people all share one thing in common. They automate everything they can. Savings automatically transferred to a separate account. Investments automatically contributed each month. Bills automatically paid to avoid late fees. Even spending limits automatically set for specific accounts. This way they don't have to try to save. The system does it for them. I remember a woman named Lisa, 36, a nurse. She was constantly stressed juggling bills, rent, tuition, groceries, childcare. When I asked her, what's the first thing you do when your paycheck arrives? She said, I pay bills, spend on what I need, and save whatever's left. I told her, that's why you never have much saved. You're doing it backwards. She looked surprised. I explained, don't save after you spend. Save before you spend. We set up automation so that every payday, 15% of her income went directly into savings. 6 months later, Lisa called me, her voice trembling with joy. Ben, for the first time in my life, I have over $5,000, and I didn't have to force myself to save. It just happened. That's the power of financial automation. Imagine your personal finances as a river. If you let it flow freely, it floods and gets out of control. But if you guide the water into channels, saving, investing, spending, that same river can nourish the fields of your future. Automation builds those channels. You don't need to stay up late wondering how much to transfer or fear overspending, because your system handles it for you. And the best part, you can start today. You don't need fancy software or a personal accountant. Just divide your accounts into 3 simple categories. 1 daily spending account, where your income goes and where you pay for essentials. 2 savings and investment account, automatically receives 10-20% of your income the moment you get paid. Don't touch it. Pretend it doesn't exist. 3 fun account, 10-30% of your income for joy, dining out, travel, shopping. Spend it freely, guilt-free, within your limit. Once everything runs automatically, something incredible happens. You stop fearing money. You stop forcing yourself to save. And yet each day you move closer to financial freedom. My dear friends, automation doesn't just save you money, it saves your mental energy. You no longer make dozens of small decisions every month. You make one decision and let the system keep it. Because freedom doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from knowing what to let run on its own. One of my students, Tom, once told me something I'll never forget. Ben, since I automated my finances, I feel so much more at peace. Not because I have more money, but because I don't have to think about money all the time. That, I believe, is the true meaning of financial freedom. It's not when you have millions in your account. It's when you wake up without worry because your money is working for you even while you sleep. And if you think I'm not ready to invest, yet remember this automation is the first step to investing. Because investing isn't just about stocks or real estate. It's about investing in habits and systems that build freedom. Someone who doesn't automate will always live by emotion. This month they save, next month they forget. This month they invest, next month they withdraw. But someone who automates doesn't need willpower. They've built a bridge to freedom, strong and steady. Let me leave you with this image. Imagine you're planting a financial garden. Each time your system automatically moves money into savings, a seed is planted. Each month your system waters it even when you forget. A year passes, then 5 in one day, you walk outside to find a lush green garden, peaceful, abundant, and full of fruit. That is the reward of automation. In the next part, we'll talk about mindful spending, learning how to use money to buy real value, not just temporary feelings. Because money isn't just a tool, it's a mirror reflecting your soul. And when you learn to spend mindfully, you don't just grow wealth, you grow fulfillment. My dear friends, when I was younger, I used to believe that financial freedom meant having a big bank account. No bills to worry about, the ability to go anywhere, do anything, anytime I wanted. But after decades working in this field, I've realized something deeper. True freedom doesn't begin with your wallet. It begins within you. Financial freedom is when your emotions no longer control you every time you touch money. It's when you're no longer afraid to open your banking app, no longer obsessed with, do I have enough? And no longer spending money just to feel temporarily safe. I once counseled a man named Peter, 58 years old. He was a successful businessman, 2 companies, 3 houses, and a large savings account. But he said to me, "Ben, I still don't feel free. Every day I wake up afraid of losing what I have." I looked at him and said, "Peter, you have plenty of money, but money hasn't freed you from fear because you never learned how to live peacefully with your emotions." We often believe that money brings peace, but in truth, only peace allows us to use money wisely. Freedom is not the result of money. Money is the result of inner freedom. If you've followed me through this video, you've seen that spending isn't just an action, it's a reflection of the soul. From emotions to behavior, from habits to freedom, everything begins with how you feel and how you face yourself. You can't heal fear by earning more money. You can only heal it by understanding why you're afraid. You can't fill emptiness through shopping. You can only fill it by living with meaning. And you can't achieve financial freedom without emotional freedom. A dear friend of mine, Rachel, once said something I'll never forget. "Ben, the day I stopped comparing myself to others was the day I started feeling rich." I asked her, "Did you earn more?" She smiled, "No, but I started to feel enough." That's something money can never buy, the feeling of enough. The gratitude for what you already have. The peace that comes from not needing to prove anything to anyone. And the freedom that comes when every dollar you spend is guided by awareness, not fear or impulse. My dear friends, financial freedom isn't a destination, it's a journey. A journey that doesn't begin with how much you earn, but with how deeply you understand why you spend. I want you to imagine this. Every time you decide not to buy something meaningless, you're buying a little peace. Every time you save even $5, you're buying a little freedom. Every time you invest in yourself, you're buying a brighter future. Every dollar you spend today is a vote for your future. Are you voting for a life of debt or a life of peace? Are you choosing to live by emotion or by values? I know this journey isn't easy. There will be days you feel tired, tempted to give up, wanting to live a little. I understand, I've been there too. But remember, you don't have to change everything in one day. Financial freedom doesn't come from one big decision, but from hundreds of small ones repeated every day. When you choose awareness over impulse. And if you're watching this video right now, that's a sign you're ready. Ready to step out of the cycle of unconscious spending. Ready to build a financial life that's not just stable, but peaceful. Here's something simple I want you to try today. After watching this video, sit down and write 3 things. 1, 3 recent purchases you regret. 2, 3 that made you feel genuinely happy and meaningful. 3, and 1 thing you'll do differently starting today. Don't treat this as a money exercise, treat it as a self-awareness practice. Because when you understand your relationship with money, you're really understanding yourself. I once told my students, when you can manage your emotions, you can manage your money. And when you can manage your money, you can manage your life. Remember, you don't have to be a financial expert to live free. You just have to start with one small choice. Let reason lead, not emotion. My dear friends, if you remember only one thing from me today, let it be this. Money doesn't define who you are, how you use it does. Use money as a tool to build what truly matters. Health, time, knowledge, and meaningful relationships. Don't use it to chase fleeting emotions, because when those emotions fade, all that remains is emptiness and the bill. Financial freedom isn't about having everything. It's about not needing everything to feel complete. And I truly believe you can start that journey today with the very next conscious dollar you spend. If these words resonated with you, take a second to click like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes one small reminder about intentional spending can change an entire life. Comment below, I choose freedom. Let that be your reminder and your contribution to this growing community of conscious, peaceful, financially free people. I'm Ben. Yes. And I believe every one of us can be free, not just financially, but emotionally. Because when you live with awareness, money stops being a burden and becomes a companion, guiding you toward a life that's meaningful, sustainable, and truly free.